Good things. Welcome to the 36th session of the Aviation Wealth Club on this, the 25th of November, 2025. We're welcoming Rob back after his tour through Zambia and having driven 8,000 kilometers and nearly getting eaten by lions. So welcome back, Rob. And welcome to everybody else. This is just a reminder what the 3 pillars are about the Aviation Wealth Club: exclusive events, business acceleration, niche investments. You get a great value stack every single year that you are part of the Aviation Wealth Club. And I'd like for us to start with some wins. Who's got a win for us from the last 7 days?
I can kick off. I've had a few losses, but I took part in a charity golf day on Saturday, and I only play golf twice a year, and I played my lifetime best round of golf on Saturday, which was it was still only 16 over par, but that's my lifetime best. I've never played a round of golf that good. I had a out-of-body experience where I was hitting the ball and kind of thinking that somebody else must be hitting it from somewhere because that can't be me. So that was definitely a win. And then I emceed the prize giving and the charity auction at the end and everything. That was a lot of fun. So, and then we watched the Springbok game in the clubhouse. So that was kind of a really cool Saturday. Kerry and my kids were there. So that was a very successful family moment on Saturday. That was a big win for the end of my week.
I actually also played some golf this weekend at Shishan. Two of our students wanted to do a training trip there, and they took us for a weekend of golf there at the Shishan Club, which was quite impressive. It's a beautiful golf course.
Whereabouts is that, Christo?
That's Kalahari, actually. Katu. You know where Katu is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's quite a vibey little town with the mining and, a beautiful golf estate there with, I think that they said it's under the top 10 golf courses in the country. There in the Kalahari. Beautiful.
I was about to say that's a long way to go, but I guess if you've got a plane, it's not that far.
No, you can go for a weekend, yes.
Sishen is actually one of the most high income per capita areas in South Africa.
Oh, really?
I don't actually know.
Yeah, it looks, Yeah, so they say there at that golf course, if you want to buy a house, except for the fact that it's very expensive, you have to have a cruiser and a beautiful wife. Otherwise, you can't. Or a beautiful wife, yeah.
So all of us just need a cruiser then.
Yes.
Alles lekker ry goed.
Ja, dat is.
Lovely. Nice. All right. Who's got another win for us?
Yeah, I also had a great family weekend. So we went to the Cherry Festival near Vicksburg, and this was very nice with our children. And that was great just to be there. And also we went to Sandstone Estates. That's just about 2 kilometers from the Cherry Festival. And that was quite impressive also. It's the guy that brought in Nokia in South Africa, and he's got his own trains there and his own train track and everything, steam locomotives, a lot of them, and also a military museum. So, and also, it was quite interesting, and just to see everything and some of the old English guns and stuff, and South African guns and German guns and tanks and steam locomotives, steam machines and stuff, and they're all working. They brought them there and they're working, and they did a train. The Boers, they got on their horses and their traditional clothing, and they sabotage the train, one of the, an actual train, a steam train. So yeah, it was just the act, but it was done brilliantly. And Brian Eminis was there, so he did the sound, and yeah, it was quite interesting, and it's something I could do next year. You can go. There's a big festival. It's a few thousand people there, and yeah, you can taste cherries, buy cherry products and stalls and everything. Yeah, it was quite nice. And we stayed at Clarence, so yeah, it's nice. And watched the rugby and the restaurant. Yeah, it was very nice.
Awesome.
Good times, good times. I've heard good things about that cherry festival. I had a friend once or a friend of my parents, who every Christmas we would go to his house, or around Christmas time, and he had a jar full of maraschino cherries soaked in straw rum, and then he would hand those out and get the party started, let's say. Those were quite interesting. So yeah, very nice. And I've actually been to Vicksburg, beautiful part of the country down there. It's very lekker.
Excellent.
Okay, I've got a win. I don't mind going next. So after, it must be 11 years of trying to get into a specific airline, it looks like my pitch for 360 pilots has gone to the CEO this morning. So it's a big win just getting in front of the right person. And so that's the one win. And then the other win from last week is starting, which has to be like a fresh new business that actually like fights with the CIA every day for anyone that is on the cusp of losing their aviation medical. I think that's going to be quite an exciting new business, because the CIA right now, medical board consists of a criminal and a nurse. So those are the two people who head that up. So try and fight that from the inside. So exciting stuff.
Absolutely. Very nice, very nice. My quick win is last night we had a very cool President's Trophy Air Race Masterclass, and it was well attended and very good feedback, and from all the participants. And yeah, I think people often think about like just a bit of background. The President's Trophy, it seems to have a bit of a negative rap out there, and the more I speak to people, Christopher, I don't know if you found this as well, but the more I speak to people, and even last year's participants and the participants from the last couple of years, and the general feeling out there is that it's very much, it's definitely improving, the whole sentiment around it. And even the guys that we thought were going to be very pissed off with their result from last year and didn't want to speak to us as organizers because they thought they won, but they only came in ninth. Like, heard from both of them, and they were absolutely chilled and raring to go on the next one as well. So while we get fed a lot of bad information from certain people in the community, I think the important thing is, and the win for us, is to go out there and find the real good stuff that actually is important. What is the real feedback, And I also just want to say we careful not to just like listen to each other in an echo chamber, because that's not what we're doing. I'm literally going out to every single person, giving them a survey, finding out what they loved, what they didn't love, what we can improve, all that kind of thing. And the sentiment is definitely between a sort of a 6 and a 10 out of 10 for most people. So I'm quite chuffed with that. And we were able to give away a free entry for the President's Trophy last night to a Paul Harkestad. And so we now certainly have 2 entries for the President's Trophy, Christoph. One for Jakes van Stryp and one for Paul Harkestad.
All right,
Anyway.
excellent.
Yeah. So
guys started contacting me for the hire and fly for the aircraft as well.
Yeah, I gave
Good
Lucas
participant.
Xtien your number, yeah, and then I mentioned last night on the webinar that you might have a couple of airplanes. So if you get calls from the guys, just know where it's coming from. Okay.
All right, now thanks, David. Thanks for that.
I didn't want to put it out too far into the public. Just the 28 people or so that were on the call last night got that inside info. So just to provide some value for the guys coming in. All right. But yeah, other than that, business has been okay. Surprisingly, I had quite a nice, good month. A lot of recurring business that's helped bolster this month's results. Unfortunately, not a best month ever for me, but there's always December, So yeah, here we go. Lekker. All right. So following on from last week. Oh, just a quick update. The last event for the year is the safety symposium happening at Wonderboom Airport next Tuesday, the 2nd of December 2025. And then just an update about the sponsor packages available to all Aviation Wealth Club members at 60% off for a platinum package. Instead of 18 grand, you'll only pay 7.5. Instead of 12.5, you'll pay 5 grand for the gold package, and a silver package is only 3 grand instead of 7.5 grand. And you get each one of those gets you very good value and a lot of exposure for your brand to the right kind of market. Tell us today, Rob, why did you show up today?
I showed up today to just connect with everybody. Because I think all of us would benefit from having more great relationships in our life. And the only way we build great relationships is by showing up and getting to know people better.
Beautiful. It's largely why we show up all day. So we were busy with the 10 principles that make us more money, Rob, and we've got through 1 through 6. But do you have something up your sleeve today that you want to share with the group?
No, if it's okay with you, let's finish that off. What I want to do starting next week, as it's December, is kick off with planning 2026 to make it the year you achieve by design as opposed to by chance. And I've got 2, maybe 3 sessions on that to wrap up the end of the year. So if it's okay with you, do you mind we finish off the 10 principles now, and then we'll move on to that next week?
1000%. Let's do it. Cool. All right. So these are 10 principles that I picked up in a Alex Hormozy post, actually. And I thought that there was a lot of intrinsic value and a lot of information and that we could deep dive and get out of these principles. And the whole thinking behind these principles was that, yes, he mentions them and tells you how they could work in a business. But what I want is for everyone in this room to take these principles and adapt them and think how they can work in their business. These are quite generic, but there's a lot of ways that we can really tailor these principles and implement as practical steps that can help us generate more money and more clients and more bigger, better business. The first one that we looked at, just a quick recap, was to turn your 7s into 9s. People buy at the same rate for 95, 97 or 99. So why not just make that $2 extra at the end of, for every transaction? The same goes for adding a 99 cents to your zeros, just add in that extra little bit. The big key takeaway here from me was to upsell. Think about always adding an upsell in some way. That was one of the things. The next principle was solve for compounding. So basically, once you have a formula that you know who your customers are, what they need, and how to sell on them, all you then need to do is copy and paste a million times. How you do that is you either make something that people never stop buying, or you build a network of people who never stop selling. And then you just unfold that formula. And that's how you go from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. Okay. The next principle number 3, was one small change can actually 4x, 391% increase in your sales conversion rate. And that thing, which was studied and proven, is that if you call a lead back, someone who opts in to your business within 60 seconds, someone who clicks yes on the website form, or fills in a thing, or downloads an ebook or something like that from from your business, or even just sends you a message, within the first 60 seconds, if you just acknowledge them and get back to them, and even ideally solve their problem or set up a meeting to solve their problem within that first 60 seconds, you'll increase your closing ratio by 400%. The next thing was every script that you write. So every email, every script, every bit of written communication that you want to send out there as a message to your clients, to your community, and to your audience is dumb it down. That's what this one says. Dumb it down. Like, you think that sounding clever or sounding technical or sounding like you know what you're speaking about helps your client understand and regard you with the right kind of authority. The opposite is actually true. The easier and more simple you make it for them to understand, the easier they will agree and understand what they want in their heads and understand that you have what they need, and then the quicker they will start to trust and buy. It's a bit like I mentioned last week. It's a big problem with a lot of industries where we try to sound more intelligent than we really are. The financial services industry, we're all guilty of it. I would say the estate agencies, there you go, we could carry on forever, but everyone tries to sound like a technical professor of what they're talking about, when in fact they should just talk it down into everyday language and be more easily understood. One thing that you can use, that you can actually run all of your adverts or your advertising or marketing copy, or even your normal emails, run it through something called the Hemingway App. You just paste the documents into that, and then it actually, you can tell it what reading level you want it to make your writing into, and they find that 3rd grade reading level is the best for getting your message understood out there. Number 5 was give away better stuff. So things like samples, things like gifts, things like your time we mentioned as well, ebooks, something of value, something of real cost, not just value that might be free to you, but if you give something where that actually costs money to a client, they will perceive it and use that the principle of reciprocity to come back to you and actually buy more from you. Do I have questions? Sorry?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay, good. All right, and then the last principle that we dealt with last week was a who, what, when, and this just goes about ownership of tasks. So many times in meetings, we all talk about things that need to be done by someone, and we all know that old adage is like, someone thought that everybody would do it, and everybody thought that anybody would do it, and nobody did it. That happens all too often. So use this framework of what needs to be done, who needs to do it, and when is it going to be done by. And then there is some sort of more in-depth way of how to get that when right. But if you use that framework every time, ownership of the problem, of the task, gets done or gets taken on, and then is actually completed. Okay. So yeah, those were the first 6 that it took us 2 weeks to get through. There was a lot that we delved into. The next 3, or there's actually 4 today that we hopefully will get through. And I'm going to start that off. The number 7 principle of 10 is BAM FAM. Who's heard about this? This is book a meeting from a meeting. So never leave a meeting with a customer or someone important that you know there needs to be another meeting or a follow-up without booking that follow-up. Book a meeting from a meeting. Every time you're on with a prospect, pull up your calendar and get them to commit to the next meeting time. Don't circle up offline. Don't say, okay, yeah, don't worry, I'll give you a call next week and we'll set it up. That just delays things by another week, another month, another time, and and nothing kills deals like time. So get those times done. Shorten the time between you and the follow-up, or this existing meeting and the follow-up, and then you know that you're both committed to it, and book it now. How is that something that you guys have thought about or can learn from in your business?
I very often, David, listen very intently and ask probe questions quite often with people I meet to find out who else they've met for what reason in the recent few days or few weeks. And I'm busy listening for the sort of person that I would like to meet. And so it doesn't happen in every meeting, but often in meetings, you'll say to me, "Oh, I met with Franz Smith a week ago, and he's this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah." And within that meeting, I'll find a way to engineer, I'd really like to meet Franz Smith. Is there any way we could set up an introduction, please?
I just know he's very busy. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah. And I find that there's the booking the next meeting with you is great, but if I know if you trust me enough and like me enough, and you know Franz and I want to meet Franz and you can introduce me, you can kind of double hit that book a meeting from a meeting, if we think wider. And I think we're often too transactional our meetings in trying to get it over and done with quickly in narrowness, and we don't find out enough about the periphery of what people have been up to, and then exploring that periphery of who could I be introduced to or referred to out of that. And for me, that's what this speaks to.
I like that take on it. Very nice. Who else? Christophe, Francois, France, what do you guys think of this?
Yeah, it's no, I think it makes sense. I'm just trying to think how it's no, I incorporate it with what I'm doing. But normally it happens, it's normally a follow-up meeting, if there's something serious. So it's not a once-off. But okay, I think what you mean here is in that meeting already booked the next one. Just trying to think how it's applicable to what I'm doing now.
Do your instructors do it? Christoph, do they, like, as soon as they finish with a lesson with a student, do they sort of march them to the Seams or the booking platform you guys use and make them book another flight test or a lesson?
Yeah, so they're kind of doing that already. So what we're trying to do here is have a week of training booked in advance, and because the guys also fight about not fight, but the slots and the availability of the aircraft. So they know now if they don't book it immediately, they're going to struggle to get their students booked, because someone else will come and fill up all the slots. So that kind of happens. It didn't used to be like that, but now it's more or less the procedure we are following.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to keep your airplanes flying and to make sure that the student progresses through their training as quickly as possible as well. It so often happens where students get left behind and they leave flight schools. I'm sure it doesn't happen to you, but I know the big ones at Pretoria, they get lost in the system. They don't get looked after, and so they go to other flight schools.
Yeah, we experience that as well, especially with the local people or the part-time students. Because you have to prompt them to come. Otherwise, But the other thing is now with this weather, so they didn't make bookings. But then you see the one morning, okay, it doesn't look too bad, but now there's no booking. So to try and get someone in, it's a hassle. So now we book them in any case, although we know the weather is going to be bad. And then we just cancel the slot if it's bad. But so continue with the bookings and then maybe just cancel if you can't continue.
Love it. Francois?
Yeah, I'd say in my industry, what I use it for, I do recurring business. So what I will do is, if I visit the planters, I'll tell the guy, listen, I'll come and visit you again in, say, a month's time. And then this time of year, I visit him. And I'll tell him, because we do our orders in the beginning of the year, January, February, March, usually all of them. So, yeah, I'll just tell him in advance, listen, we've talked about it, and I'll phone you, say, in January, and we'll have a chat for your order for next year. And then, you've got cycles, and you just have to be in that cycle the whole time. And that's why I think this applies a little bit different to me, but I book a meeting in advance with him, and tell him, listen, beginning of January, then I book it, I phone him, listen, we've talked in December or whenever. And yeah, we have to see each other for that order.
I love it. All right, France, anything to add on this last point?
I think I'll just repeat everyone else.
Very nice. All right, brilliant. So book a meeting from a meeting, super important. It means you're moving your deal from one point to the next, and getting that money into the bank quicker than otherwise. All right, so the 8th principle is split testing. Okay, and split testing, or A/B testing as it's also known, is a very well employed principle, and I think it's actually a much easier thing than we all realize. And to be honest, I still struggle with the theory behind it, but let me explain. So for Alex, the largest gains he's ever had happened by split testing something he hears almost no one talk about: their tools and integrations. So think your scheduler integration, your form integration, and page builders. So these are things like your Google Forms and your meeting booking apps and that sort of stuff. And the stuff you build your business on, it takes a little more work to split test them, but it is so worth it. So before I interpret what I think this is, Rob, what do you think Alex means by this?
So my biggest focus on split testing is around marketing, and that is testing the ads that I use, and the organic, let's call it marketing that I do, the ads that I do, and then the landing pages on the website that people visit. And I think all too often we don't test enough in enough volume. So we think that 100, or in fact, in one of Alex's books, he talks about this. We think that 100 or 400 is a sizable test bed. In almost all industries, 5,000 would be a good sample size. It's interesting, David. I'll find a link for people, but I had a meeting with Peter, who works for me, on Thursday, and we were looking at the split testing of adverts on Instagram and Facebook that people are running. And what was very, very interesting is Russell Brunson's currently testing 62 adverts for exactly the same product now, or he was on Friday anyway, and Alex was at 80 something. 87 rings a bell, but it was 80 something anyway. And we think that sounds like a lot. These are just adverts that they've built different varieties of in Canva, right? That's the first thing to say. But they're equally testing with like $4, $2 per advert. They're not spending $1 million or any of those large sums. And they're just looking, who is it who clicks best on this and goes to the order form and buys the thing, or books the meeting, or does the, like, calls us, or whatever it may well be. It was very eye-opening to me to see the volume of actual testing that they're doing, taking all of our biases off the table and actually just following what the customer does. In Kingdompreneur, I'm just actually about to start split testing 12 adverts today. Our last set of adverts, the highest performing advert was the one that we thought would perform the worst. And yeah, so it shows us that what we think our customer wants to click on or engaging is usually wrong. And so for me, I don't think we have to guess at our businesses. I think we can test, but I think we need to become more analytical and follow the numbers and get the customer to teach us more than we do have to think ourselves.
I 100% agree. I know when I still actually send out a number of messages, direct messages on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook to certain prospects. And I remember years ago, I would send a long spiel, maybe like 2 or 3 paragraphs of who we are, what we do, and why it's important, and change the order of those paragraphs, why it's important, who you are, and how we can help you, and all those different types of things. And what I found works most effectively is literally one line, and I just send the prospects a thing and say, hey, I don't even ask how you're doing anymore. I just say, have you upgraded your loss of license recently? And then my email and phone number. And that has got the best results out of all of the different messages that I've ever sent. That's specifically on LinkedIn.
There's I've just put a link, David. You can actually access the back end of Facebook and Instagram's marketing platform, and you can go and see what other people are doing to market. So we actually can reduce our testing. And I've put the link for that in the Aviation Wealth Club group, and maybe we should do a session on it at some point in time. What's genius with it is you can go in there now and see what Cirrus, for instance, is doing for its marketing at the moment, what it's testing, which is great. But you can also see what its longest standing adverts are, or pieces of marketing are. And the beauty with the split testing is you turn off and stop what doesn't work and keep going what does work. And so we can go in there and see, well, Cirrus has run this as an example, or Cessna has run this advert consistently for 4 months. That means it must be producing the right customers for them. And if your customers are similar to Cessna, for instance, you can then use their advert as a template to create your own with, and not copy them, but should we say, use it for inspiration to do something similar, because it works for them. And so this testing is so beneficial through Meta, because we can actually go and see what people who've got far more money and far bigger teams, what they're doing that works, and then we can do our version of it and get better results, because we basically piggyback off the back end of their thought, expertise, and spend. So, but we can do a session on that at some point in time. But I've shared the link to the ads library in the group.
I love that. I've seen that ads library before, and a year or 2 ago already. But I'd love to see what it looks like now. And I agree. Let's do a session on it, and even take it down even further. It's actually build an ad for for Francois, and one for Christoph, and one for us, and one for you. Maybe do one ad per session, and actually just kind of run through the practicality of how it works and how we can implement it. All right, brilliant. Francois, Christoph, any thoughts on split testing in your business and how it could work for you?
I think when we do this marketing, we're not really doing it at the moment, but I think it can be quite effective for us as well.
When I looked at the Secunda Flying Club page yesterday, there's quite a lot of stuff you guys have gotten up to, and fly-ins and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of advertising around that that I think we can pick up, and then for Aviation Junction as well. So would love to actually see how that plays out for you.
Yeah.
Francois, or can I move on to the next one?
Yeah, you can go. Thank you, David.
Great. So the ninth out of the 10 principles is the 80 or 90% cost theory. Most people think going from 80% to 90% margins is just a 10% improvement, or actually 12.5 if you're good at the maths. But neither are right. It's actually 100% efficiency gain. To increase margin, either raise prices or decrease costs. For me, this speaks to the principle about, the marginal gain that you get after, let's say, we get 80% proficiency in our business. And to get that last 10% or the last 20% to get to 100% proficiency actually costs us a huge amount more to extract that value. Okay. And there's always that argument of like, is it worth it? Is it worth all the extra effort I put in just to make sure that I can sell, an extra 10% or get that extra 10% margin from what I'm doing? And I think that's the point in this thing, is like, instead of going through all of that effort, rather just increase your price. Just see what happens when you increase your price. If you're already at an 80% margin, that means your demand must be pretty good. And instead of going through like this extra marketing spend and extra R&D spend and extra this and extra that, blah, 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 I think the easiest thing is just increase your prices and see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, what happens is that, yes, you lose like maybe 3 or 4 customers, but you're gaining 10% more income. What do you think of that?
I'm still wrapping my head around this. Well, but I understand it, but I think fundamentally, David, everybody could charge more if you can understand what more value you can offer your client beyond the product itself. Probably harder in Francois' industry to do than in Christoph's, but in Christoph's probably is very easy to do. Yeah, probably very easy to do, actually. And there's more advantage to being the most expensive in your industry than there is in being competitive. I wonder, this 80 to 90%. Well, I mean, it could be increase your customer volume by 12.5%, and keep your margins the same. I think we all habitually look for too big an improvement without realizing if I don't know, if Francois had 12.5% more customers, which is the maths, his business would look fundamentally different. So I think you can look at this at the margin level, put your prices up, but I equally think we could say, well, 10% more customers or 12.5% more customers at the same prices actually also would make a significant difference. And I often think that we think we've got to go and find, 20 or 30 new customers to achieve that. But maybe in some businesses, 2 new customers would increase your customer number by 12.5%. And at the end of the year, make the year look a lot prettier. So yeah, it's the real thing that stands out is most businesses stop at 80% good enough in terms of its customer experience. Most businesses stop there. And in order for your business to be unique and to be seen to be very, very unique, almost all the gains are found in the development you do above the 80%. And
I think that more lends itself to what you discover about your processes at yourself, at your business, when you actually push to get that 100% more efficiency, and how that can unlock further doors and value for you. But yeah,
if I was to look at 2 banking products, I'm an FNB customer and a Discovery customer, and while I was away, we drove up through South Africa, Botswana, into Zambia, drove back, long ass trip. These differences are quite simple. My FNB credit card stopped working after the 3rd tap in Botswana. and then it's, you need to call them, and there's a security verification. I know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
My Discovery credit card just worked, period. Right, and I think that we think these gains have to be so significant to make a difference, but Discovery have just got it right. They know exactly what the customer wants in terms of an experience, and their difference that makes the difference is that the flipping thing just works reliably all of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas FMB is it works when they want it to, but in honesty, somebody's made it too complicated and it fails most of the time. And I think that we need to focus on these margins from a customer's perspective. Discovery is pretty much ring fencing most of the highest net worth individuals in South Africa steadily, simply by just offering them a personal banking experience that just works easily for them.
Yeah.
And I think all of us can do that in our business. All of us can improve from 80 to 90% just by focusing on giving the customer a far easier, better, time efficient, simpler, less forms to fill in, less hassle process.
I think that's exactly what this thing's talking to. While it says just increase cost or just decrease cost or decrease prices, I think the principle is, what very simple thing can you do to increase margin? It doesn't have to be a full R&D development, venture of any kind. It can literally just be something super marginal and increase it. So yeah, I like that.
If you think about the banking example, I'll come to you in a second, Francois. Just think about the banking example. Discovery as a bank is not cheap to the end user, right? As a banking service. I don't know. I can't remember what my black card costs me every month, but it's not. I don't know. It's not cheap anyway. So they've managed to increase the price to a price point, but they've decreased their own costs because the card just works. A, they're going to get more customers, so that decreases marketing costs. But B, they don't have to employ as many people for you to phone and have the awkward conversation around where are you and what was the transaction, and do it 4 times on a 2.5-week vacation, right?
Yeah.
So they've actually decreased their costs by making the thing better. And I think often we look at decreasing costs of how do we cheapskate it. But we don't have to cheapskate it by making it better. Actually, we can save decreased costs there. Sorry, Francois, I butted in. What were you going to say?
I don't want to say anything about FMB, but I mean, I'm also at FMB, and I've been struggling with these guys. You call a call center. There's nobody that you can talk to. So I've talked to a few friends of mine that Investec, and the same thing. They said they were with FMB, and they're happy. They've got a banker. They can phone them. It doesn't cost. Maybe it costs a little bit more, but they deliver all your cards with you. I have to go and stand in a queue for 2 hours to get my credit card, and that it's just I don't want to throw stones at FMB, but I'm just saying, just maybe in our business. And what also happened with us is somebody at the head office on the seed side decided that for a new client to open an account, we must send him a link. He must upload all his stuff. But for a farmer to do that, we warned them, listen, this is not going to work. And each time if you do that, a farmer explodes and he phones this is a new customer and he has to do stuff like that. So now they've changed it. Again, like we'd asked them, we'll take the form, we'll print it out, we'll take the form to the farmer, do it for him, let him sign it, and get all his stuff from his accountant. So that works a lot better. Like we said, it's not. Maybe sometimes you don't have to just work more efficiently, and make it easier for the client. I mean, he must not struggle to do business with you. I think that is the great thing. And if you get a new client, just make it easy for him to do business with you.
100%. Yeah, that's ease of use is a massive thing, and sometimes it comes at a bit of an extra cost, especially to you as someone who has to go print out the form and take it to them. But like Rob says, if it works and you actually reduce costs in the long run by not losing clients and not pissing them off, then you're winning all the way. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's the thing, with these days with all the big companies. Like, I mean, are we using F&B as just an example? I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's not. If you do the basic things, it's fine. Just open an account or internet banking. That is fine. That works very well. But if you need somebody to talk to, or just sort something out, it's not. It's not easy.
I have a customer that had an F&B home loan, and again, we're not bashing F&B. This is probably true for the other banks as well. But he had an F&B home loan that had a session on his life policy, and we needed to move the life policy because it was too expensive, number one, and I found him a better product and all these kinds of things. But you can't cancel the old policy until F&B or any bank that holds the session for that home loan on that life policy, the bank have to allow you to cancel it, or they have to cancel their session. With F&B, it literally took us 3 months. 3 months of sending the forms back and forth, sending they sent us the wrong forms, then it was this, and it was 3 months of dealing with various call center people, and eventually last week, in fact, they sent an email saying, don't worry, the session has been cancelled. And then they sent that to the client and not to us. So we're like, why, you've been dealing with us, but why don't you tell us? Anyway, that's the one thing. The other thing is, the other story I had is, I've got a client who's a physiotherapist, and he's fully booked. And he's like, he's like complaining to me that he's struggling to, get to his save up for the deposit on his house. He's just newly married and all these things. And he's like, struggling with the finances, and I'm trying to help him with his budget and blah, 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 blah. Eventually I just said to him, I said, you're fully booked, right? Like, you've got enough customers or enough patients. He said, yeah. I said, what's stopping you from raising your prices by 50 to 100 Rand an hour more? And he was like, no, I don't have the experience. And the guy that I'm in the partnership with in his physiotherapy practice, he's got 20 years experience and only charges 70 Rand more per hour than me. I said, so what? Like, you've still got enough patients or customers. This guy was like UCT, one of the UCT first team props. He's got a very good name out there. People understand who he is, and want to work with him because he's great. He actually fixed my tennis elbow on both my arms. And I just said to him, so what if the other oaks got 20 years experience on you and only charging $70 more? It doesn't matter. The demand is you. So put your prices up. Next week he put his prices up, and bang, now we've got more savings and investments and all the right things for him to afford his house in the next couple of years and improve his chances at retirement. And he's still fully booked. So I said to him, you know what you need to do? Raise your prices again in 2 months. Anyway. Okay, so I think the important thing is easy marginal wins that will allow us to increase our margin from 80 to 90%, if not more. All right, I think the final one is the last one, the 20-year master. If you have one eye on the destination, it means you only have one eye on the path to get there. The entrepreneurs who are most obsessed with scaling fast are usually the ones who scale slowest. Why do you think that is? I'm posing that question to the group. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the guys that are constantly looking at the horizon and not just down at the boots on the ground and into and working on the day-to-day stuff, why do you think that they're not growing and scaling as fast as the guys who are?
Oh, David, I would say because you've got you're in two minds. I would say you've got You must have a goal and everything, but you don't have to concentrate that much on that. Just do the things you do every day. Focus all your attention on one thing. It's better than focusing on two things, than dividing your attention.
100% agree. While knowing where you're going is important, and setting that intention and that goal up front is vital. Otherwise, we all tend to meander. I would say that setting it and knowing it, and then only every now and then figuring out if we need to change course and to do that, but staying present and having that sort of focus on the one thing that you're doing every single day will help you scale faster. Do you agree, Rob?
I'm contemplating my navel. There's only one group of people who are really successful, and that's the present future people. And I think that's what this talks to. And that's the people who've got a vague idea about what 10 years or 5 years time looks like, but they're not obsessing about it. And they're actually very much in the, how do I exploit today and this week as much as possible? Like, how do I squeeze the lemon dry of this week? Would be an interesting thing to do. The how to do it fast. There's a saying that money loves speed, wealth loves patience, and the poor can't do either. And so I think we need to work fast and slow, frenetically fast within the today. You know, how many adverts can you test today, for instance? But also with the patience of 10 years. It's almost like be the hare and the tortoise. A lot of people are trapped in the dream of what the future can be, but they're not doing enough of today in order to get to the future they want. Yeah, that's my thought. And honesty, David, haven't actually done the maths.
What do you mean by maths?
It's all a numbers game, right? So it's all a numbers game. You know, for me to hit the goals I want to achieve, and I've got some. At the moment, I generate somewhere between 30 and 50 leads a day. I know what the conversion ratio is. Well, yes, I can do more of it. So maybe we can 4x that, but I probably can't afford to 4x it either at this point in time. And so there's actually a numbers game of like, what do I have to do to be able to afford it without reducing the quality? Who do I have to employ? And you can actually track your numbers over a period of years to get to where you want to. But it all comes back with doing the thing today to do the next step, and actually knowing what the numbers look like weekly, monthly, and yearly going forwards to get to where you want to get to. I also think that if we do the numbers, most people don't like the numbers. I mean, Amazon took 20 years to break even, right? Most of us don't like those numbers. Because we're too impatient and our ego doesn't let us actually go and achieve the future we want. And so it's a numbers game as well. If you can understand your numbers well enough, not the Excel spreadsheet of lies, but the conservative one of slow truth. I often think if we did business like Jacques Cullis played cricket, we would probably have a business worth having. And you think, what did Jacques Cullis do? He sat patiently over playing the singles, turning away the balls. And his uniqueness was, yes, he was an incredible cricketer, but what really was unique about that was just staying at the crease for longer than anybody else without getting out. And then when it came chance to field and bowl, he wasn't exactly sloppy at that either. So he was a good all-round game. And I think for many of us, we're trying to be David Miller or AB de Villiers, and we keep the fast scaling people get caught as they're going for sixes, but they're not good enough to stick it over the rope, and they get caught. You know, actually, most of business is survivability, and it's playing the singles longer than anybody else does.
It's the boring stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, also to add to that, I would say, you know, something that I've learned this year is just to go a little bit slower. You know, we're working and we're trying to do as much as we can every day and fast track everything. But then if you do that, you miss stuff, you know, and you if you just take it a little bit slower, just sit back a little bit and just make sure and concentrate, you know, to do everything right, then you get more done than you're trying to do it faster.
100%. My experience this year has been, and it's quite nice to reflect back, because I actually started a couple of new things this year. Number one was actually getting my attention under control by using Concerta. And one of the things about the ADD, or the problem that I had before I was taking it, is like I knew I had to do A, B, C, and D, and E, let's say, those 5 tasks in a day. And I would spend 2 hours or more trying to figure out if I should do C, then A, then B, then D, then E, or which order of things would give me the most sort of efficient and best result of, you know, I could do A while B is busy boiling and blah, 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 blah. You know, I was trying to figure out that thing when I just realized that if it doesn't actually matter that much, and I just started at A and ended at E, and I just did them in a row, slowly, correctly, and well, like just hitting the singles, not trying to hit the 6 while trying to hit a single and catch a ball and then bowl. It was literally just like, do them in a row and do them properly and slowly and carefully, that I would actually get so much more done. And that for me has been a huge differentiating factor this year of why I believe I've had such a successful year versus, you know, years gone by where I've spent hours deliberating on how to do things, and maybe this goal is a better one to pursue, and maybe this and maybe that, blah, blah, blah. No, just focus, do something, do one thing now.
I love it.
Yeah. Nice. Like they say, Crystal, fly the aeroplane, aviate, navigate, then communicate, eh?
Yeah, in that sequence. Otherwise, we've got problems.
Yeah, exactly. I think what I was been trying to do, and to illustrate it in this aviation fashion, is I was trying to communicate, then navigate, then aviate. Whereas just aviate, just fly the airplane. Make sure the throttle's in. Make sure your flaps are not up or down. You know, fly the airplane.
Yeah, no, yeah. So and definitely, if you do it, those are all important things to do. But if you do it in the wrong order, you know, or unorganized, you know, it's you run into problems very quickly.
I mean, you could, most of the time you can first communicate, then navigate, then fly, and like a lot of the times it's going to be fine. But
you might end up at a different place than you intended to go.
Exactly.
But you'll still be okay, I think.
So the airplane's flying no matter what you're doing, and then you're still navigating. Then you got to re-navigate. So those are the 10 principles that will make you more money. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I like this one. I think for me this year has also been very fast paced, and it's difficult to keep up, and you drop stuff and you do things wrong. Instead of like what Francois mentioned now, it's just to sit back and maybe take it a little bit slower. You know, we all want to, I think it's this ambition and getting ahead and get ahead before everyone else, but sometimes it's also not as efficient as you think. Instead of just taking it a bit slower and plan it a little bit better and give yourself some more time. Otherwise, it just gets your head just gets everything gets out of control, and you're struggling to manage it all.
Exactly. And it also talks to, like, actually, I don't want to sound all woo-woo, but actually showing some gratitude, or actually taking a look back and realizing what you've achieved so far, And and there's coming back from, I mean, what you've done in the last couple of years, Christoph, moving your family across the world, coming back, having to rebuy your flight school back from the guy you just sold it to, and build it up, and still, it's unbelievable what you've done. So there's
It's a big
I'm always in awe, and I completely admire your journey, man. The last 5 years have been chaos for you.
Yeah, it's a bit of chaos, but yeah, I think you need to take time to reflect and see where you are, take stock. How are you gonna? I think that's maybe one of my things for next year is to put down a plan and see, for my own personal growth and for whatever, and maybe plan it a bit better or a bit more structured, and see what I want, what do I want to achieve, how do I want to achieve it, and set some goals, a little bit more. From the Think and Grow Rich book, it says you have to take regular stock takes on your life. How have you been? How was your personal improvement? How did you achieve the goals you wanted to? And I think it's more of a structured way, and then it's easier to see where you fail and where to correct, I think.
Yeah, just to Christoph, to add to that, maybe I've done it now for, I think, 3 years. Each of my clients on the seed business, I plan for every client what I want to sell to him, what I'm selling, and then each 2 times a year, I would sit down with my area manager and we would go through those guys and just see, this was our plan. This is what we reached, and this plan didn't work with this guy. We have to do something else for him. So, and really been blessed with 2 or 3 guys that came on board this year that I used to do business with, but the last 5 years I didn't. So really glad for that, and it was really a blessing. But just to it's nice to have a plan, work the plan, and then get the reward on the plan. That is quite a nice thing.
And stick to the plan.
Yeah, I actually saw a video last night, which this accident that happened now, just over a month ago. It was like aviation video, and it says why the biggest mistake aviators do is not sticking to the plan, and to maybe instead of the plan, say, for weather. If the weather is terrible, we're not gonna push through and rather turn around. And we want to maybe change that plan on the way. That's exactly what happens. You change the plan instead of sticking to your plan. But in a sense, also, you must be able to adapt. I think what I say, Henry Ford had to adapt at some stage, but it was also his determination to stick to his plans and his decisions. So if he made a decision, stick to that decision. But at some stage, when the time is right, you have to adapt to the market as well. So you need a little bit of flexibility in your plan, but I think the main plan must be the plan. Yeah.
For real. And that's what this says. It's make sure you're not adapting too much.
Yeah.
Don't always have an eye on the path. Just have an eye on what you're doing, and every now and then look at the path. I think that's what it's saying. And I think that
Yeah,
leads
that's
us to next. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, and I think it's quite difficult. It's easier said than done. It's sometimes it, they say that's why I call it a plan. It's not at the end. It never works out as you've planned. But that's why the plans are made to change. There's different versions, but I don't think that's really true. You have to try and follow your plan, and it's hard. Things, a lot of factors are comes into play, and then and it's easy to get distracted and veer off your actual main plan.
100%. And I think that leads us to next week's session, where we're going to start putting in some plans for next year and have something that we can stick to. And let's employ this 10th principle to say, like, this is the plan. Let's focus on doing what we need to do and not get distracted by changing the plan over and over. What do you say, Rob?
We're going to be looking at how to make it ambitiously simple. That's the plan, but we'll start off actually by looking backwards as opposed to forwards, because everybody's businesses have grown this year, and I think it's worth recognizing what that is, what it is we did to achieve it, and then being able to repeat it next year, so that we can grow from where we are. So that's where we're going to start next Tuesday.
I'm very excited about that.
There's a Mr. Delivery there.
No.
You get it? I hear some tutor.
Yes, no, it's it's a car alarm that's going off over here. But sorry about that. Anyway, all right. I think that wraps it up for this week. And yeah, just a reminder: the Wonderworms Aviation Wonderworm Safety Symposiums next week. We'd love to see you guys there, Francois Christophe. If you can come through to Pretoria, it would be amazing. Bring the family, bring people, bring everybody. Rob, I don't know if you're planning to come to Gauteng anytime soon, but you probably have to spend some time at home. I'm sure Kerry's keen to keep you down for a little while.
I'm actually going to Cape Town for 6 days next week.
Beautiful.
I'm going to cross that hurdle when I get to it.
Very nice. All right, excellent. Well, let's all go forth and make a bit more money. It's still one last little push before the end of the year, and I think we can all go and have some fun.
Excellent. God bless, folks. Stay awesome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Cheers,
Enjoy.
Christophe. Cheers,
Ciao,
Francois.
bye.